This is a very special Burnie edition of Sunday Extra, and our next guest is a writer and musician who is listed on the Wikipedia page of notable people from Burnie. Justin Heazlewood performed comedy for many years as the bedroom philosopher. You probably heard him on Triple J over the years, and indeed 2 of his songs finished in Triple J's Hottest 100. Justin's latest book is called Dream Burnie, and it's a highly original and entertaining book about the creative people of his hometown of Burnie. And in a way, it's his second book about Burnie, because Justin's memoir, Get Up Mum, is all about growing up in northern Tasmania as a delightfully creative kid who's also the son of a solo parent living with a serious mental illness. So as a little boy, Justin was also a carer, and as he puts it, the sole witness to my mother's suffering in the sour mirror of schizophrenia. Justin Heazlewood, author of Dream Burnie, welcome to Burnie.
Hi there.
It's great to have you. Now, Justin,
it's great to be out of the house.
Tell us, Justin, how did you come to the Dream Burnie project, to the idea of writing a tribute in your own style to the artists and the creative community within Burnie?
Oh, I got in with this gang of elite middle-aged art women called the Burnie Arts Council, and they coerced me, took me under their wing, and I was just a bit lost. I'd moved back here in my 40s, and I was just wandering around looking for someone to play chess with, and they took me in their van up to their compound, and they happened to be having a 75th anniversary of their organisation, and they had this list of 100 artistic alumni of Burnie, and I was amazed that such a long list of all these painters and musicians and composers and people you'd maybe barely heard of at times, and all these things they'd achieved. And so I just got to thinking, I wonder how I can make myself of use here. And I thought, well, I had already written a book called Fun Employed about being an artist in Australia. I'd interviewed about 100 people for that. And I thought, imagine if I sort of did a hybrid of that and a bit of Get Up Mum. I could, interview 20 artists from Burnie maybe, and then sort of make a hybrid of that and some of the history of Burnie and the great 80s and 90s nostalgia that we have for the place. And yeah, Lyndall Thorne, the president of Burnie Arts Council, was very open, supportive. I basically as crazy as I am. It's such an ambitious project. And so she really met me in the middle with, let's see how big we can do. Let's just do a whole book.
Fantastic. And you did. And as you said, you were presented with this list of 100 Burnie alumni, a part of the creative community. As a person from Burnie, Justin, how many of those people did you know?
Honestly, maybe half the list I wasn't overly aware of. And then people I had heard of, a lot who I went to school with who are now kicking goals, I wasn't even across all of their achievements either. I feel like a lot of times artists are just satellites floating around, just doing their own thing, and it takes so much time and energy. You sometimes aren't completely aware what other people are doing, and this is a good time to stop and take stock and to chat to people like Craig Leeson, who was the Tasmanian of the Year, and he's sort of the Albie Mangles of Tasmania, and he's sort of this world adventurer who made a whole documentary called A Plastic Ocean, which might have led to single-use plastic bags being banned in 2018. And he's rubbing shoulders with Greta Thunberg and people like that, and he's from Burnie, and he did Burnie Surf Club just like me. And my interview with him really blew my mind because he actually was involved in breaking the story of Burnie's severe water pollution in 1988. And talk about having skin in the game. I was literally doing Burnie Surf Club that year. I was hurled into the freezing Tasmanian Ocean as a little 7-year-old nipper. Meanwhile, Craig Leeson is busting this story out for The Advocate, having water analysed in labs and finding dioxins in it, which is a cancer-causing material.
Not recommended for surf clubs.
Just getting pumped in there by everybody's good old faithful friend, the pulp mill. So this whole project began as, let's interview some artists, let's talk about Burnie, but just the amount of detours and the stories that have unfurled for me, it's like my worldview of Burnie's expanded as a grown-up, and it's sort of, I don't know, I think I needed something like this for myself because I've been focusing on my childhood nostalgic view of Burnie for so long. It's like grown-up Justin, who has now sort of moved back here, really needs something to sink his teeth into.
Well, there is a lot to sink your teeth into, and it's really engaging and relatable. And one of the striking things about it is just the breadth and diversity of creative pursuits and excellence that you found in that alumni community. Could you introduce us to maybe a couple of other characters from the book who demonstrate that range that we'll find in Dream Burnie?
Oh yeah, like Sabian Lynch was brought to my attention. He's in a heavy metal band called Alpha Wolf, and they just happened to be Grammy nominated for Best Box Set or Limited Release at the most recent Grammys. And they're up against Kate Bush and John Lennon, no less. This is a kid that went to Hellier College.
There's an underdog story against John Lennon and Kate Bush.
I know, right? Yeah, look, I suppose Stuart Campbell is someone who was in my grade at Hellier College, and he's moved to LA, goes by the name Sutu, does some really avant-garde virtual reality, computer-generated storytelling biz, and he's done graphics for Hollywood movies like Ready Player One. And I just wasn't really aware of just how many goals the guy was kicking. He's done his own TED Talk, which I think he's on the board for the first Burnie person to have a TED Talk. So honestly, like, to be really honest, people like Stuart Campbell was sort of lo-fi rivals for me at school, because we were all the overachieving nerds from all the different high schools that all came together at Hellier. And so if you didn't go to high school with someone, you weren't exactly best friends with them by the time you hit Hellier. And it was sort of like, who is this whiz kid? And even Michaela Gleave, who's in the book as well, she was sort of in the art rooms just doing amazing things. And then she'd just come out at the school Hellier concert and bust out the flute. And I've just got this amazing memory of this ethereal figure in like purple satin lavender dress and bright red hair playing this amazing flute concerto. And she's gone on to be a successful contemporary artist in Sydney. And so it's just a great hybrid of reveling in the achievements of these people and then saying, so what was Burnie like for you growing up, and what do you think of it now? And really dispersing maybe the burden of, if you're moving back to your hometown and you're sort of the only person among your peers who's done it, it's sort of a heavy trip, and it's nice to just check in with other people and go, I don't know, I know what I think of Burnie, but what do you sort of think of it? Because Burnie is such an intense place. It's sort of it's not like any other country town. It's just it warrants a lot of comment. People have to weigh in heavily, and it's almost like if I was doing a stand-up comedy night and I said I'm from Burnie, there'd be like groans and jeers and cheers from the audience. And yeah, it's not necessarily it's not like the butt of jokes, but it's certainly the beginning of a setup of some kind of punchline, you know.
So you've got this range of responses. What was Burnie like for you? Are there sort of common themes that emerge from people in all sorts of creative pursuits from their time in Burnie, or was every story sort of particular in its own way?
I think there's the pollution from the industry. This is an industrial town. Let's not muck about. Like, there's nature. There's nice nature bits, but there's so much hardcore industry that sort of is the headline. And it was polluted to the eyeballs in the 80s, and it's just, the sea was brown, surfers had ear infections, the air smelled all kind of eggy and weird, and everyone had asthma. So that's like, everyone's got their own journey with that. And then, you know, maybe there was just a bit of toxic masculinity going on. Wasn't a great time to be gay or anyone thinking you were gay in the 80s. So Wayne Hudson, the sculpture maker, tells a story about a bloke saying, "What are you looking at?" and then punching him out. And so, look, that side of things has to be acknowledged. But then you've got Barbie Care, I believe her surname is pronounced, an amazing printmaker, visual artist. She was just talking mostly about the ocean in our interview and how it just sort of, Burnie of the 80s, you had so much time and space to yourself, and it just facilitated this sort of dreamlike quality. You could be lost in your own thoughts. You had the ocean to gaze out at, and you were left to your own devices by parents of that era. You would walk to school for half an hour and just have your own thoughts for that trip. And I suppose the title Dream Burnie really started becoming more and more meaningful and kind of on the money with interviews like that. So I liked that there was this light and shade, and I don't think the narrative around Burnie being, Burnie kind of sucks, like it's got this and this, like we get that. We've had a lot of that on your Facebooks and, those polls about Australia's most average towns and whatnot. So I really wanted to get, there's really great things about Burnie that are sort of hiding under the surface.
One of the things that really comes across is a strong tradition, a quirky, creative culture that's always been part of the town, even if it wasn't the mainstream of the town. Was that something that you were aware of when you were a young guy in Burnie?
Well, there was a whole troupe called the Big Ears Club, which people like Scott Rankin, who went on to form Big Heart, which is a really huge arts social enterprise that founded in Burnie. They were on the scene. There was music nights, poetry nights. It sort of had its own scene, but that was news to me, I guess, being a kid at that age. It's great to hear that there were, Wayne Hudson was trying to paint the idea of Burnie in the 60s as being actually really cultural. It was ahead of other towns at the time.
Mm.
He reckons he had mime classes down at the adult education, and that what is now Greens, which is just this real base, pub, nightclub, that used to be, they used to have a poetry night on there, and it was a folk club for a while. It's that kind of stuff kind of really blows my mind, because it sounds like there was so much culture and art just naturally being produced or integrated with the place. But I don't know, one of my gripes with the place now is that it's just very hard to see that sort of any culture or art on display, or I don't know, you go out to, it's so hard to see a live band play in Burnie, or it's so hard to go see some stand-up or some poetry being performed. I suppose the amateur theatre scene here has always been pretty pumping, and Erica Wilde is one of the absolute golden girls out of that scene, and she's the name most likely to come up at the chemist and the hairdresser of Burnie. Have you
Tell us about Erica Wilde.
Yeah, well, she's sort of graduated from Burnie High musicals and now is in the West End touring the UK and is just, kicking goals.
On Sunday Extra, we're speaking with Justin Heazlewood, who's the author of Dream Burnie, his tribute to the amazing creative people who have emanated from the town of Burnie. And Justin, I suppose one thing that occurs to you when you read about all this amazing history from Burnie is whether that's the sort of story that could be told of any town, or whether there's something particular about Burnie. I think the artist that you mentioned, Barbie Kerr, says exactly that. It's very particular coming from Burnie. What's your sense of it? Is this a story that's to be found everywhere?
I don't know if anyone's drilled down into the stats on this. I did Craig Rucastle, a fellow Chaserian's show.
It's a virus spreading through the ABC.
You throw a rock out the window, you're going to hit a member of the Chaser in the media in Australia. He was taking it to the polls going, does your country town punch above its weight? Is this unique to Burnie? I like to think it's particular. It seems to be particular to Burnie. There is something so hardcore about Burnie that Hobart, Launceston, Ulverston, Wynyard, all the towns around Tasmania, I just don't think have that level of hardcoreness. and it begs the question, in a town that sort of actively doesn't seem to champion or value arts and culture that much versus sporting success or business success or military success, how on earth would you grow up in a place like that and go on to pursue art as a professional career? I think that's an amazing, rhetorical question. Maybe artistic, creative people do well in a vacuum. We didn't have a lot of peers around us or role models as to what you could do or be. And it seems like a lot of us were wandering around with our natural-born imaginations, dreaming up some sort of thing we could do.
And it really is a vibrant, quirky, diverse collection of creativity that you've assembled. Justin, was there anyone from Burnie who heard about your project, who you spoke to, and who declined to be involved in the Dream Burnie project?
Oh, this is good. I've done a round of media now, and it's all been pretty polite and supportive. But I'm glad now we're like, yeah, that's all well and good, Justin, but can you give us some dirt?
Now that you're uniting this town, let's divide it again.
I'm actually at risk of pulling this whole thing off, and actually it's being really well received by people of Burnie itself. And I've managed, my reputation's actually in about the best place it's been in a long time. So this would be a good time for me to start mouthing off, telling tales outside school.
We'll take that as an eloquent no comment.
Burning people.
Justin, what's the reaction around Burnie, being to Dream Burnie?
Oh, what reaction isn't there? It's just everyone's talking about it. It's got 50 holds on it at the Burnie Library.
Has Burnie Library seen anything like this?
In fact, that is my answer to the question. Like, I could tell you like how sales are going at the local bookshop, but how do people feel about my book? It's got 50 holds on it at the library. That's a feeling. You know? Like, you can't buy that. You can't fake it.
Not at the library, you can't.
I can't. I've got a library account, but I can't go in and put 50
Can't get my own book at the Burnie Library. That is a measure of success.
But I can't go in and put 50 holds on it. I mean, I might be able to tinker with my own Wikipedia entry, but there's some things in life that you just can't manufacture that kind of enthusiasm, Julian. And honestly, when I heard that actually true fact from my library contacts, I was just so moved. And I thank the people of Burnie for being so stingy that they don't want to go and buy the book that's $35 from the bookshop. They're all going to borrow it from the library so that I die poor, penniless, obscure. This is just how I want it. I encourage everyone to borrow the book from the library or borrow it off a friend. Don't support the arts. Definitely don't support what I'm doing. That's my message for all the kids out there.
It's a very particular form of praise. Justin Heazlewood is the author of Dream Burnie, a tribute to the creative people of Burnie over the years, the best bits of this town and the culture we hold dear, as Justin says. Justin, thanks so much for joining us on Sunday Extra.
Thank you.
Snarl the hen og i bygget 0 snera i Sivia. Jeg går nå.